Hello, my name is Abigail George, and this is my presentation for the 3-discipline synthesis essay for English 112. Now, oftentimes when humans think of the idea of isolation and what that exactly looks like, often a theme that people can do is automatically think that the only thing that would affect a person when in isolation is mental. But this is simply incorrect. Through much research that I will be diving into, it is seen that isolation can affect a person's mental state, but also physically. And so specifically, in the play Trifles by Susan Gillespie, it focuses on the idea and theme of isolation. And this is shown by the character Minnie specifically, and she's isolated due to her husband. And really the idea that we're going to be diving into is the idea of isolation can lead people to do things that they normally wouldn't do simply because of how it affects them. So as I did say, a theme of isolation is shown through the literary work Trifles by Susan Gillespie. And so this is really seen through the character Minnie. And specifically, as I said, she was isolated due to her husband. And what I mean by that is throughout the play, when you read it, you see that the husband actually keeps Minnie completely isolated within their home. And what certain things that he did were, back in that time, people, like women specifically, weren't able to get around as much as guys were, simply in the fact that women had a lot more responsibility in the home. And so oftentimes a thing that women would do would use telephones to communicate with other people. This is just one of the examples. Minnie's husband didn't allow them to have a telephone in their home because he purely wanted her to be very isolated. And another way that he took away from her was Minnie had a pet bird, and that is something that brought her joy, but he even took that away. He actually ended up killing the bird. And this is just a way that he took almost everything from Minnie and really forced her into complete isolation. And so knowing this and reading this theme, I actually dove into research in specifically psychological studies to see how exactly isolation can affect someone's mental health. And so what I saw is a study by Bukdant Alabi, and this really just showed that people are not made to live without other people. We are simply, as humans, made to have interactions and community with other people. And so when that's stripped away, that actually does take away from our mental state as a whole. We simply are just not made to go through stressful situations or trials that may come, which do come in life. We're just simply not made to go through those without a support system and social interactions with other people. And additionally, I looked into research about how isolation can affect someone's physical health. And as I did say before, oftentimes people think that isolation only affects someone's mental health, but this is simply incorrect. It also can affect physical health. And a study that I found, a scientific study, was by Rosando Loxkin, and it really just dives into isolation can actually cause people to have health defects that people that aren't isolated have, like things like they get overweight or they struggle with substance abuse or things like that. You don't always see that due to isolation, but that also does come as an effect from isolation. And so another big thing to think about is when people suffer from depression, and that's mental obviously, but that can lead to self-harm. It affects the body in many different ways. It's really cool. But just overall, we see through these studies, and as I dove into those, it's simply incorrect that isolation only affects someone's mental state. It also affects physical. And it can lead people to do things they normally wouldn't do. In this case, as an example, is in the play Trifles, led Minnie to actually end up killing her husband because of how much stress she was in and her grieving from specifically when he killed her bird. It just stripped that joy out of her, and it caused her to do something she normally would never do. It affects a person in multiple different areas, and it can be very, very dangerous, is what I got from this. So, thank you.